Punctuating quotations. Quotation marks are used to show a speaker's exact words. Direct quotation. Use quotation marks at the beginning and end of a direct quotation. Use a comma to set off explanatory words, also known as attribution. The hiker said, "The snow was too intense to be enjoyable." The hiker said are the explanatory words or the attribution. The snow was too intense to be enjoyable is exactly what the hiker said, so we put quotation marks around it, and we put a comma after said. We could switch it around and write it this way. The snow was too intense to be enjoyable, the hiker said. Now the quote is in the beginning, and the comma goes inside the quotation marks before the explanatory words. An indirect quotation. An indirect quotation is when the speaker's words are restated in somewhat different words. Quotation marks are not needed. Here's an example. The hiker said that the snow was too intense to enjoy. It has what the hiker said, but it's not the hiker's exact words, so we don't need quotation marks. A divided quotation. If the quotation is divided into two parts by explanatory words, both parts have quotation marks. Do not capitalize the first word of the second part if it is part of one sentence that is continued. Do capitalize if it is a new sentence. We stayed in our room, said the hiker, and didn't leave until it stopped. The second part starts with and, but it's a continuation, so the A is not capitalized. Finally, it was over, she continued. We packed our gear and left. So after she continued, there's a period. That sentence is over. Then a new sentence starts with we, so we capitalize it. Colons and semicolons at the close of a quotation should be placed outside the quotation marks. The boy said, "I'm going home." However, he did what he was told. Quotation within a quotation. Use a single quotation marks when you write a quotation within a quotation. The teacher said, "Let's go back to the part where Lincoln says, 'Whatever you are, be a good one.'" The part, "Whatever you are, be a good one," is a quote. It's what Lincoln said. So we use a single quotation mark, which is actually an apostrophe, and then we use regular quotation marks around the whole thing that the teacher said. Dialogue. A dialogue is a conversation between two or more speakers. When writing dialogue, each speaker gets a new paragraph and new quotation marks. Here's an example from Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway. Notice there's a new indentation where each speaker speaks. The first part is where a man is speaking, then the girl is speaking, then the man is speaking, then the girl is speaking. Dialogue continued. If one speaker's words continue for more than a paragraph, begin each paragraph with a quotation mark. However, do not use the closing quotation mark until the end of the entire quotation. Here's an example from Atticus Finch's courtroom speech in To Kill a Mockingbird. This is only the last part of his speech, but it's continued, so it has quotation marks at the beginning of the paragraph. But at the end of this paragraph, there are no quotation marks because he continues in the next paragraph. So we have a quotation mark again, and then at the end of his speech, there's a final quotation mark. Questions and exclamations. If the quotation itself is a question or exclamation, put the question mark or exclamation mark inside the quotation marks. "Do you think you'll go again?" inquired the reporter. The question mark is inside the quotation marks. She said, "You bet. It was the best time of my life." The exclamation mark goes inside the quotation marks. If the sentence is a question or exclamation, but the quotation is not, put the question mark or exclamation mark outside the quotation marks. Did she say, "It was the best time of my life"? So the person is asking a question, But what the question or what the quotation is, "It was the best time of my life," is not a question. So the question mark goes after the quotation mark. "I can't believe she said it wasn't that bad." So whoever said "I can't believe she said" is saying it excitedly, but what she said, "it wasn't that bad," is not an exclamation. So the exclamation point goes outside the quotation marks. Punctuation of excerpts. When quoting a fragment of a sentence, just a part, not the complete sentence, do not capitalize the first word of the fragment unless it begins a sentence or is a proper noun. No comma is needed to set off the quotation apart from the rest of the sentence. Thomas Edison declared that genius was 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So the part with quotation marks, 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, are Thomas Edison's actual words. So that's put in quotation marks, but we don't use a comma. Punctuation of excerpts continued. If you're quoting an excerpt of 5 or more lines, you can set it off from the rest of the text by indenting the excerpt 10 spaces and double spacing it. Do not use quotation marks if you set off an excerpt this way. Here's an example. The first part is continued from the essay, and then the quoted material is indented and double spaced.